Hello everyone, welcome to my biology class. I am Mrs. Adibalogo and our topic for today is adaptations. So here you'd find we have two definitions. Note the difference. Number one, adaptation without the S is a process whereby an organism fits into its environment. So that's the process whereby an organism becomes accustomed, becomes used to its environment. And number two is adaptations with the S. Is defined as the features of an organism that are modified structurally, functionally, and behaviorally, which fits the organism for life and controls their chances of survival and distribution. Meaning these are the features an organism possesses that makes it able to live in whatever habitat it is found in. As you know, we have the aquatic and the terrestrial habitats, and for an organism to be able to live in water as an aquatic organism, it has to have features that enables it to live in that habitat. Same goes for the terrestrial organism. So now these are what we call adaptations. They are the forms that have functions. So moving on, we have three groups of adaptations, and they are the structural adaptations, which means the physical attributes the organism possesses. Adaptive coloration, that's the color of the organism. Some organisms don't just have colors, their colors perform functions. And the third is the behavioral adaptations. That's how they live, how they behave in their environment. Okay, so structural adaptations here. You see, almost every part of a living organism is structurally adapted to its mode of life. Some structural adaptations for specific functions are for obtaining food, for escape and defense, for securing mates, regulation of body temperature, and conservation of water. So all these here are actually characteristics of a living organism. A living organism has to be able to feed, nutrition. So majorly we are talking about higher organisms here. They need to obtain their own food. Escape and defense, those are the structures the organism has to be able to protect itself. And securing mates, that's reproduction, regulation of body temperature, and conservation of water. Okay, so now for an organism to be able to obtain food, they need adaptations. Now when you look at various organisms, you should be able to determine what kind of feeder they are. If they are herbivores, carnivores, or omnivores. So the external features of an organism would tell you to an extent the kind of food they feed on. If you see a herbivore, you would note the dentition. Herbivores don't have canines. They don't need to tear flesh, so they have more of molars and premolars. So looking at these external features, you should be able to determine if an organism is a herbivore, a carnivore, an omnivore. So now these features the organisms have help them to obtain food. Okay, so herbivores are organisms that eat plants only. And we have examples here as grasshoppers, termites, cows, goats. They have broad and flat teeth that are for grinding because they eat grass, herbs. Now carnivores are animals that eat only other animals. They eat flesh, which where you have predators. They kill and eat other animals. So for this they need sharp teeth, they need sharp claws to be able to catch and feed on their prey. And then there are omnivores. Those are animals that eat both plants and animals, like human beings. We eat flesh and we eat herbs as well. So we have all the kinds of teeth. We have canine, we have the incisors, we have molars and premolars. That's not the same for other animals that are carnivores or herbivores. Okay, so let's look at some birds. Now, looking at their beak and feet, you'd be able to determine the kind of food they feed on. So these are their external features, their structural adaptations that adapt them for life in their environment. The first one is a duck. Ducks are aquatic most of the time. They swim in water. You'd see that the feet, they have webbed feet, and their beak is for filter feeding. They find their food in water. So they have adaptations to be able to move around in water and find their food. Okay, the second one you'd see has walking legs and sharp beak. Now those are for picking worms, for catching worms. And the feet, you'd see this is a terrestrial bird. It walks on land. It doesn't have webbed feet, so it can swim in water. And the third one too, you'd see it has beak, a short, sharp beak for catching insects, and walking feet. The fourth as well, it has a very short beak, but very powerful for cracking seeds, and then it has feet for scratching. You'd notice the ones that have feet for scratching, they live on land, they find their food on land. They need to scratch the earth and look for their food that way. So their feet is adapted for their kind of feeding. If you see an aquatic bird, you'd find it has webbed feet. Same goes for other animals as well. So yes, this is talking about carnivorous birds. They need sharp claws and beak to tear their prey. For example, an eagle or a vulture, they have sharp claws, they have sharp beaks. So those are their structural adaptations for obtaining food. All right, now, so for this week, we will stop here and continue in the next class. We'll talk about the other structural adaptations and move on from there. Okay, so here is classwork for you. State the adaptations of a named organism for obtaining food. So pick any animal you can think of and write out the adaptations it has for obtaining food, structural adaptations for obtaining food in its habitat. Okay, till next time, thank you, stay safe.